we can solve that kind of access problem, right? So if that's what we call like as exchange, you got to have a solid infrastructure for people to get in easily and get out.
Change and exchange. Solutions to pervasive crypto liquidity challenges. Insufficient liquidity is a well-known challenge for burgeoning markets with a relatively low total market capitalization. How can exchanges mitigate liquidity risks and protect consumers? Moderated by George Zarya, BeQuant and BeQuant Cryptocurrency Exchange. Herbert Sim, TheBitcoinMan. Jimmy Zhao, ZBX. Kishore Mansinghani, Future One Exchange.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for sticking around for so late. We are here to cover a topic of liquidity. I mean, we have representatives of exchanges here. And to remind everybody, exchanges are one of the dominant institutions in the blockchain industry. I think exchanges employ over 50% in the blockchain space at the moment, and a lot of dynamism and energy comes from the participants in the exchange industry. So what we want to cover is to see how we can improve one of the key components and the KPIs of the exchanges, precisely the liquidity. So let's start by introducing briefly ourselves. My name is George Zarya. I'm founder of BeQuant. We focus on institutional clients. We operate an exchange, custodian, and we're launching a prime brokerage in January of next year. So guys, over to you. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Herbert Sim. I'm TheBitcoinMan.com. I'm also founder of CryptoChain University, the world's first library for blockchain and cryptocurrency research papers.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jimmy. I'm the founder of ZBX. ZBX is actually based in Malta. We're trying to get the VFE license here and have offices in Port Malta Tower. The interesting thing about our exchange is we do have a Swiss banking, fully banking with us, and means if you go on our exchange, you can open your personal Swiss bank account with supporting 23 different fiat currencies. So you have a seamless interchange between crypto and real fiat assets. So that's the unique selling point. And yeah, we're here to discuss about liquidity. Interesting.
Hi, I'm Kishore, and we run a P2P crypto exchange regulated out of Estonia. It's an Ethereum marketplace using escrow.
Okay, all right. So let's go dive deeper into the problem of liquidity and the trends happening in the market right now. I mean, we've seen the market has been highly defragmented. I mean, there's over 4,000 exchanges registered, at least known at this point in time. We don't know the exact number, but there's way too many, I would assume. The liquidity, we've noticed that there's been a change in price discovery, and the price discovery has been moving from spot exchanges to the futures exchanges. So there's been a wave of new launches of the leveraged products, essentially. So what does it tell us? It tells us that the clients, the traders are looking for that leverage and enhanced liquidity and capital efficiency, and the leverage helps to achieve that in some way or another. But speaking from the retail investor perspective, where do you see, what are the sort of the key components that your clients, retail clients, are demanding from your platforms? Jimmy, maybe
I can start. So I think the key things is what I'm saying. If you build an exchange, the most important thing is infrastructure, right? So if you cannot even solve the fiat part, like if people cannot even buy the crypto asset very easily, you're never going to achieve massive liquidity. I think that's the very fundamental. Like, so how these days still, for most of the country, like if you think about, it's still not very easy to buy crypto assets. Even Europe, the price is very high. Average, if you go on Coinbase, you go to Cefello, all these brokerage site, you pay like 5 to 7% when you purchase Bitcoin. this type of assets. So I think how do you actually lower down the bars and make it very easy? Like we talk about like 20-second purchasing experiences. So this is something I think vary from UX UI point of view, and to working with the banks, we can solve that kind of access problem, right? So if that's what we call like as exchange, you got to have a solid infrastructure for people to get in easily and get out.
But where do you see the solution to the banking problem as?
The solution, we happen to be one of the very few exchanges in Malta managed to work with a Swiss bank. I think we have been quite a journey, I would say. It took me literally 7 months for the negotiation. And the good thing about this is like some of the banks are starting opening up the collaboration with exchanges. I always say we were asked many different questions. They were thinking about like crypto more like a bank. They want to know, trace it back from original. It's impossible. So it's an education process between a crypto exchange and the bank. So we actually find the boundary. But I think if you think about the world where it's going, like China just declared, for example, the digital currency DCEP, right, national backed crypto stable coins. So if China's doing that, there's 1.4 billion people actually going to get into crypto and own their digital RMB at some point. So the rest of the world will follow up. I think the regulations will start realizing this is something you can never stop. And the bank will start open the doors. I think it's just a process. Maybe some of the exchanges, if you want to work with them, the number one thing is regulation. You have to be fully regulated. You have to do...
Yeah, totally agree with you. The regulation, and it's part of the reason why we're here in Malta, is because of the regulatory framework. Allows a lot of the participants to open banking accounts, and we've seen there's been increasingly a requirement from banks to be regulated somewhere, somewhat on some part of the activity. Totally with you on that. Kishore, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, let's understand the basics. What do we have with us? We have the fiat currency in our bank. If I want to make them buy cryptos, how seamless can I do it? If I have a credit card, I want to buy cryptos, how seamless can I do it? So we need to have a off-ramp, on-ramp, fiat to crypto, crypto to fiat integration. So that if I want to buy, I can simply wire transfer, I can use my credit card, debit card, and if not that, then how? So then we realize that how about coming up with a P2P solution? Because regulation is one thing. It's going to happen, it's going to take its time, but aren't we all regulated? When we open a bank account, are we not KYC'd? The answer is yes. So you have to transfer money from, let's say, HSBC to Standard Chartered. No one's going to question me because let's say Herbert has an account with Standard Chartered, I have an HSBC, I transfer $100,000 to him. No one's going to question because we already KYC'd. And if we have an escrow component out of it, where the coins are escrowed, it could be just on an Ethereum smart contract, which makes it trustless completely. Then the solution is taken care of. So we decided instead of waiting for regulation, we might as well go and use the advantage of the blockchain itself. So we decided to go the P2P way, and so far it's been pretty successful for us.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the overall infrastructure in the market and the key participants. So, I mean, one of the key players that maintain the order in the market and the efficiency of the price are the market makers. I mean, we've seen there's more and more market makers becoming sort of, well, the key players in terms of determining the liquidity, providing liquidity onto many different places, and ensuring there's a stability and the efficiency in the price. So they arb across different platforms, and they essentially quote the order book. So do you guys have market makers on your platform? How important do you see this component to your system? So,
what we do is we work with OTC players. You know, this question of liquidity always comes, but if you've ever done a transaction with OTC, it could be whether you do it with Paxos or OSL or any of the big names, Cumberland, there's no liquidity issue. The problem is only when you work with tokens. That's when you see a huge slippage. But otherwise, if you work with major coins, especially with OTC, you get filled a big block trade at one price. So I don't see there's a liquidity issues for major coins if you do it through OTC.
Okay, well, I mean, again, the efficiency, overall efficiency of the market and the pricing is still far away from the traditional asset classes. So we've seen a number of flash crashes. We've seen a lot of sort of mispricing. So there was a flash crash on CME a couple of days ago. There's been an issue on Deribit as well when the Coinbase went down. So there's these kind of issues happening a lot. So it seems like the market is becoming more and more integrated across different platforms, different exchanges. And do you see that we have a way of sort of centralizing certain infrastructure components like, I don't know, clearing, banking, custody? I mean, regulation might actually help in putting things more central and harmonized. What do you guys think? Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll jump in here. Okay, so since I founded Crypto Chain University in 2010, I've been researching the industry, and subsequently I was a Global Operations Director of Huobi from 2017 into 2018. And it was during that point of time when China banned cryptocurrency. And because of that, I was part of a very small team bringing them out from China into Singapore. And at that point of time, regulations played a very, very big part. Okay, so at that point of time, Singapore was very proactive towards the space. And of course, there's many other countries as well that are catching up. Even with the likes of Malta, which is really proactive in blockchain. We have Estonia and more. Okay, so but now the thing is, back to the exchange portion. The power of any exchange is all about liquidity and depth. Yeah, there are 4,000 known exchanges out there, and the only way to really set yourself apart is the liquidity and depth that you have, and your spreads must be as low as possible. Yeah, and now the thing is, because we are looking at the Forex market as well, that we mentioned earlier. So Forex market, the daily trading volume is about 5 trillion. And for crypto, daily trading is about 5 billion. So Forex is actually 1,000 times bigger than crypto itself. So now the thing is, it's all about blue ocean strategy. I think the crypto boys think we are really big, okay? But there's actually room to grow, at least 1,000 times more. Yeah, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm TheBitcoinMan.com. So now the thing is, there's so much room to grow in the industry, and the way to go about is actually tapping into the Forex traders. And it's a very seamless integration. The Forex traders themselves are dabbling with MT4, MT5 platforms that right now, exchanges across the world, they do not even integrate this into their exchanges yet. And that is one, okay, it's a free tip for all the exchange founders out here. Basically, all you need to do is tap into that market, and you have a whole spread of mainstreamers flooding into the market. Yeah, so I guess that's one of the easy ways to solve.
Essentially, yeah, what you're saying is that the crypto to introduce cryptocurrencies and another asset class on the common platforms like MT4 would help to sort of bring in more players into the space, right?
Yes, that's right.
Jimmy, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, one thing we're doing right now is to work with the Swiss bank to issue 16 different stable coins, including dollar, euro, pounds, and RMB, and so on. So we actually have a mini version of Forex market based on stable coins. So that solves a few problems. Like, of course, you can do this MT4 as leverage trading on a Forex. But one thing you have to remember, in this world, most of the countries, they have financial controls. For example, China, you cannot send your money abroad. And for example, Brazil, the cost to send your money is 10% on cost, and T plus 15. So how do you actually move funds back and forth between countries? There's always a trade. Like, I'm always giving example, China, Brazil, $4.1 billion annual trading, and 41 billion, sorry. So that actually, it's how much money can be saved and can be used if you use blockchain and based on stable coins. That's going to definitely increase liquidity, and it's a much bigger market. It's a $1 trillion market instead of focusing on these crypto only market. And to answer one question earlier you had is like, how do you build a centralized? I think these days, for example, arbitrage does not exist anymore. You cannot make money from arbitrage because everyone has market maker trying to find the holes in the market. It's already somehow, in some sense, integrated. if you go to an exchange, you're probably buying from Huobi or some of the big ones because the market maker is actually moving the orders for here and there. So I think but the problem is not really to have market makers. The problem is the market size of crypto is limited. It's only maybe, you said 5 billion, maybe 5 billion out of it, like maybe half, 60% are fake volume. How many people actually produce real volume? It does not work in this industry right now. So I think, the last point, I think if you really think about liquidity, the key question is, because the guy earlier on said here, is talk about tradable assets, right? So tradable assets doesn't mean it's only crypto only. What I think is the blockchain gave is really democratize the access to a financial product. Yep. If you actually can turn a lot of financial product to tradable assets, that's interesting for a lot of people. Like,
I think you correctly pointed the integration of the assets across for the retail players, and actually it's probably even more so for the institutional guys with introduction of the prime brokerage, the regulated custodians. There's, again, more and more banks actually serve as a sort of a central clearing institution. So in US, for US dollar settlements, you have Signature and Silvergate. They're becoming dominant banking institutions to clear and settle your trades on the OTC or on exchange market. Yeah. So, I mean, Kishore, maybe you can say a few words about this trend of becoming sort of more regulated, more institutionalized market.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You've been talking about 4,000 exchanges. Let me tell you what's going to happen in 2020. It's going to drop to less than 400. And I'll tell you why. Almost every regulator out there is going to ask you for a license, which means if you don't have a license, you can't operate. And let me tell you why most of them will never get a license. Because they have onboarded blockchain projects without doing KYC on the directors themselves, number one. Number two, they have done an ICO or IEO without doing KYC on them. So the regulator is going to say, okay, you have got like 50 blockchain projects on your exchange. Please give us KYC for all the directors of those projects. And of all the users, those who have bought tokens of those projects, the exchanges will never be able to give that. So I would say 80% will just close shop. The remaining 20%, they're going to ask, all right, great. For those of you who have done your KYC on your customer and your blockchain projects, please give us all the KYC you have done on the addresses. So for example, let's say if I'm a user on your exchange and I've transferred Bitcoin, have you done a compliance of that address? They would say no. Fair enough, you don't get a license. So, and I'm saying this from a Singapore context, regulator standpoint, because they're not giving license if you don't do these things. So I can tell you that it'll drop down to 400 overnight by 2020. In terms of the Forex market, which Herbert was sharing, let me tell you, there's something called a CFDs, which is contract for difference. A lot of brokers are offering this solution, and they are offering the major coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum on their platform. But what happens with a CFD platform, which is using an MT4 or MT5, is there's something called as the spread. Now you compare BitMax or Deribit or Bybit exchange vis-a-vis a CFD platform, the spread is less than $1. You look at a CFD platform, the spread is $25 to $50. And there's something called a swap rate or swap points. It's crazy, $100 swap points. How can you survive? That is why BitMax, Deribit, Bybit is really, really cashing in on the boom.
Running out of time, but just to summarize, I mean, I do believe regulation is one of the key answers to bringing trust of the retail and institutional clients into the space. And well, again, the more regulators actually bring in regulation and harmonize it across different continents, I think the more success we will have in this business. Okay. Sorry. Right. Well, I don't think we have any time for questions, but if anyone wants to quickly ask one. No? All right. Thank you very much. We're done. Thank you.